Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, hey, welcome back to Giga-Texas. It is Wednesday, the 7th of February, 2024, and it's been a lot of things going on here at the site, and I flew yesterday, so this is kind of a rare back-to-back flight, so I'm covering a few different things today. The first thing that I did do is I got an early morning flight, and as you can see by a few of these images, we got a chance to take a look inside part of the west side of General Assembly, mostly the third floor, a little bit of the second floor, but really great to see just the amount of changes and the amount of work that continues to be done on these floors. And also, you might be able to see that there's a lot of space that remains for expansion. So Giga-Texas has a lot of space inside. Now, another thing I was able to get a view of is the west main entrance. As you can see on that section next to the road, they're doing some additional construction, some form work, and framing it in. I don't know if it's going to be concrete or what they're exactly doing, but additional work there. Now, as we go across the highway, we take a look at the boring company setup of the Proof Rock 3, and there has been some additional work since yesterday, and it looks like they are preparing to assemble the rest of the aft end of the Proof Rock 3. I still would think that we another week or two before tunneling could begin. Also, as you can tell by this image, the belt cassette, or also known as the conveyor system, which is what uses the belts to pull the dirt out of the tunnel as it's being bored, and then they will deposit it into this area that's surrounded by these kind of concrete Lego blocks, and then that's removed. So all of this is getting set up right now. Now we go on to the south end of the main building. Not only do we see additional steel work, especially on that west side, and as you can tell by this image how that is starting to come together, but on the east side, that much larger structure is getting more of those windows installed on the southeast corner, and it's both the ground floor and the second floor, and they're really going quickly on adding more of this glass wall. And this just gives us an idea of what the entire south end of the building is going to look like. It's going to be one giant glass wall when they're completed. The last thing that I want to talk about today is we're going to go over to the crash test facility on the south end. Just a view here of that work that's being done on that slab on that south end. Looks like there's some rebar coming up vertical around the perimeter of that slab, so it suggests that we're going to have some sort of vertical structure being put in on that section. The last thing that I want to show you in that general area is the east side of the battery cathode plant. Another wall panel is being installed on the east side, and then if we go to the south end, we can see that all of the wall panels have now been put onto that facility. So it does look to me like they're having a concerted effort to finish putting all the walls onto the cathode plant. And with some of the deliveries we're seeing on the north end, it looks like they're probably doing some sort of production now, certainly testing that's going on within that facility. So anyway, a lot to see today, an early morning flight, views inside the factory and around the entire site with activity really just continuing at a frenetic pace. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, it was a gorgeous sunrise starting here this early morning at Giga-Texas, and a good view from the south looking across the cyber pond to the south extension construction site. But first, we're going to proceed along the west side of General Assembly and try to get some views inside to get a sense of what's going on with the continued production line assembly inside. There are Cybertrucks on this southwest parking location, and the mobile supercharger is there as well. So I think that's going to be semi-permanent, at least for the next couple of months. This is the southwest corner looking through into the second and the third floor. Much of this area that we see is where the Cybertruck assembly happens, particularly on this floor here is where they do some of the metal bending for the stainless steel exterior shell. They also make a lot of the doors, the hoods, the tailgate. All of those kind of items are done here on the third floor as well. You can also get a good sense of the fact that even though production is underway and there are robots operational, in fact, you can see some of them moving right now with this particular image, but there still remains a lot of space that can accept more expansion. But here's a good view of the robots in action, actually making parts of the Cybertruck right now. So let's take a quick look, and I don't know if we can really tell what they are manufacturing, but it's pretty cool to see all the robots in action. And actually, it looked like it was making the front, kind of the grill part of the hood in that one particular section for the Cybertruck. So as we continue to fly towards the north along this west side, this gives you a good view inside this section. Also, the height of this area, some of it has mezzanines that have been installed. Others have these large items. Some of them are filtration systems for the air. Some of them are large rack mounts, as you can tell here in the center of the screen, for some of the materials and supplies. Here is another set of section that has robots in the background, and also towards the windows some more equipment and other items waiting for installation at some point in the near future. We also see far to the back where there looks to be some plastic sheeting separating this section from the next section further away from us on that side of the factory. As I pull away here shortly, I want to give you a good view of the west main entrance and how it is all lit up, and the effect that you would see if you were driving by on the highway just behind the drone. Also, we can see the formwork across the entire face here in front of those StoneGlass kind of black panels on that trapezoid, but this gives you a good view of that formwork that they are doing. Not sure exactly what they are building, but once again, we see additional work going on here at the main entrance. Looking through the large glass on top of the main entrance, this gives you a good view of just how much open section there still remains here in the factory, and a lot of materials that are being stored here that eventually will be installed. And as we see that south extension growing, some of this may end up down there, and then they can use this space perhaps for more production lines. And you can see in the back that there's again that kind of a plastic sheeting in some of those sections separating these areas. These crates sometimes hold the battery structural packs, but it looks like they are mostly empty right now on this section of the site. As we continue to fly towards the north, we're getting closer to the area where structural packs are manufactured. You'll see some of those yellow robots on the left, and that's where some of that activity takes place as well. We see some of those red and white carts in the foreground, and of course that fourth floor mezzanine again in this section. So it's kind of hard to tell sometimes how many floors are here in Giga-Texas, because you have the physical floors that were built with the factory, and then we have mezzanines that have been added later, and you can get a good sense of that here as we continue to fly to the north. Now on the second floor, you see all those tables. That's currently where the main offices and the headquarters for Tesla operates from right now. So the lighting is not really working anymore. The sun is up, so I'll bring the drone away from the factory. I'll give you a good view of that nice sunrise over the roof of Giga-Texas. And as I continue to fly towards the north, I'll reveal the factory and the sunrise. And I hope that you enjoyed those views inside the factory today. As I pull away further to the west here on the north side, I'll give you a good view of the progress that's going on with the north-south road in the middle of the screen. You can see that there's still some earthwork, maybe some preparation for some medians, but we're flying directly over Tesla Road, and this road here on the left will connect Tesla Road on the north all the way to River Road on the south. Also get a good view of the steel and other construction equipment and materials that are being stored here on this north staging yard. Also some of those concrete vaults and some of the pipe segments on the right-hand side as well, and some of the Evapco chiller units and fan units that we just flew over. The central material storage location with those tents continues to be busy. It's nice now that we have these roads in the middle so that they can bypass that instead of driving through it as they used to, and continue on further to the south to the main part of the west support facility. Of course, the end-of-line structure is on the left. We see the new outbound lot partially completed with the asphalt and some of the markings, but this other section here is where they are continuing to prepare the trenching for conduit for the lighting, and then eventually that will be paved as well. You also see the Y intersection at the bottom of the screen of this north-south road. Looks like at some point in the future there's going to be an additional road that heads off further to the southwest. This south material staging location continues to have these containers that have equipment stored inside. We see other building materials, and we also see some of the superchargers being stored here temporarily right in the middle of the screen, and some of the electronic cabinets that go with it. And in addition to that, we see the on the right-hand side, those silver ducts, those will be going onto the roof, where we'll see later on where the roof has been opened up. We see these white wrapped items. This is part of the TKS modular paint system. We see more of these racks that will be used for castings later on. And all of these blue items are part of another stamping press that will eventually be installed on that south end, possibly in that new extension of the building. This triangular parking lot is continuing to be transformed away, and on that far southwest side is where the contractor parking has been moved. And we see more of the steel items being stored here in the middle of the screen. That's for the south end extension of the main factory. The west warehouse on wheels has had that expansion to the west, where that trailer is just kind of moving out, and it's continued to get wider and larger. And we'll continue to see if this is to move the east warehouse on wheels or just for further expansion. There's this large excavation going on at the north end of the warehouse on wheels and the south end of the outbound lot. It might be a water detention pond, or it may serve another purpose. We'll have to keep monitoring to see if they bring any dirt in to fill this up. We can see these kind of yellow cylinders next to these frames. This is where the lighting will be installed for the outbound lot. You can also see those yellow numbers have been added, and that will help identify what part of the outbound lot the trucks need to go to pick up the vehicles. Looks like we have a dog or a coyote visiting the superchargers today to inspect the installation that is going on. And currently they are still putting them into their final locations. We also see these electronic cabinets where additional wiring is being done and trench work at the south end of the end-of-line facility for more conduit. So still a lot of activity on that south end. Here on the west side, we can see the curbs, the preparation for the asphalt, the modular HVAC systems that have been put onto the concrete pads, and of course the scaffolding around the ducting that connects that into the end-of-line facility. As I fly up over the facility, look back to the west, this gives you a good view of that section that is getting the trenches for the lighting, and then eventually will be paved for the outbound lot. And then of course the north end of the building, and you can see the asphalt on the left, the conduit on the bottom of the screen, and that it continues over to the main factory, and we can see where they're going to be putting more asphalt on the north end. On the bottom of the screen, you can see the outfall channels for the water management system have been installed, and the trenching has been filled back in. And then here on the east side, as we fly along the paved section, gives you a good sense of what this looks like. And there's also mounts for lighting next to the curbs on the left-hand side of the screen. Here's a good view looking again towards the superchargers, towards the southwest. And you can see the trenching, some conduit, and just how this supercharger system looks today. And we know more are headed here. Some of that was stored in that west material staging location. More trenching further to the south. As you can tell, it looks like it's not too deep. It's kind of shallow trenching, so it may be just for additional conduit underneath asphalt. And as we continue to fly to this section of the warehouse on wheels, this is where the boring company has set up operations for boring the tunnel under the highway over towards the main factory. You can see the silos and the tanks and other equipment for the grout that will be used to line the inside of the bored tunnel. And the tunnel concrete segments, we see the belt cassette and the spoils yard onto the right. You can see how they have some of the cabling going over to the Proof Rock 3, getting ready to assemble the aft end of it. And you can tell that part of it has had the black tarps removed, and other sections are still waiting for that assembly. It's a good view of the end of the Proof Rock 3 that's into that pit, the three sections that make up this part of it, and also the drill head on the face of that TBM, or the tunnel boring machine. And as I continue to fall towards the south, take a look at the kind of the road on the left, and you'll see more of the concrete tunnel segments have been delivered. Only about 6 or 8 of them right now, but I would expect to see a lot more of them, maybe stored here during the process of making the tunnel. So that's a good view of the west side. So let's get ready to head over to the main construction site and see what's going on over there today. It's a good view looking under the south bridge, the outfall channel, some of the gravel roads, and the work that continues on this end of the site. And as we fly up over the power lines and the cyber pond, a really great view with better lighting now of the south end construction site. We'll start here on the southwest corner. You can see that there's 2 segments of the steel structure, and the crane is kind of in the middle right now. I'm still waiting to see how they're going to finish out this particular section and move the crane so it doesn't get stuck within the steel structure that it is assembling. A lot of steel items on the ground next to the perimeter grade beam, and of course the opening of the perimeter grade beam on the bottom, where possibly the boring tunnel may extend to or through. More of the footing work on the left-hand side of the screen next to the building and in this middle section. And it looks like on the larger steel structure, the crane is lifting another column, and we'll maneuver between the 2 cranes and bring the drone around and get you a good view of how the operation goes for installing these columns. They have those kind of bands that will connect the lower columns to the upper columns. You can see that on the left. And those are all bolted together. And you can also get a good sense of the scale with the crews trying to install those columns. Speaking of columns, all of these black columns are painted that way because of the glass. And we can see that several more crates of the CDEC glass have been delivered and are being installed. With this close-in view, get a good sense of how this entire southeast corner looks. And this is going to extend all around the entire south part of the factory. So Giga-Texas will have pretty much a glass walled in south end once this is all completed. So pretty neat to see, and the operation of how they use the crane and those suction devices to pick up the glass. Here's a good view down at some of the footing work that is going on in this section. Where that truck is driving in is also where the Cybertrucks are currently exiting the factory. Once they are finished being constructed, you see one at the bottom of the screen. Looks like they are doing some sort of, I don't know if they're just cleaning or if they're testing for water leaks, I'm not sure. And then next to the this section here, we see the tanks continue to be at that 4th level. Looks like more welding work is going on, platforms down in the middle, and some of those semicircular items that we saw delivered on my previous video yesterday. As we fly up over the roof, I'll bring you down to the section that has had the roof insulation, weatherproof membrane, and the decking removed. This is where those ducts that we saw on the west material staging will eventually be brought and installed here. With the lighting, I will give you a good view looking down in. You can see some of those chiller units. Those are Evapco units. Much of the pipe work and manifolds that connect all of these together. We see these 3 yellow tanks and possibly some pumps next to them as well. Some pretty large manifolds that extend to the top and the bottom of the screen underneath the roof. And then 4 more of those Evapco chiller units. And as I reposition the drone up to give you that view one more time, you'll see where the steam is rising in the top left of the screen. That's essentially what that site will be looking like once all of those vents are installed and the work is completed. As we get closer to the multi-level parking garage, we can get a good view of the concrete work that has been completed on the left-hand side of the roof, and more of that steel mesh that's being applied and ahead of the concrete pours. Also gives you a good sense of how much larger this structure has become. And they are continuing to add more columns and those double T panels. In fact, the crane is getting ready to pick up yet another of those double T panels and place it, and we may see that slightly later in the video. As I pull away, you can see where the building will expand to in that center section, and of course all of the materials and some of the road work that is going on, including some of the geotextile membranes that are being applied to where the road itself would be. I wanted to show you this new clearing. It's next to the recycle plant on the right-hand side of the screen and next to the trees. And they've been doing some work here for quite some time. It looks like they're raising the grade up and probably trying to avoid the water that you saw by those trees. Here's a good look at the east side where the materials are staged and the contractor trailers on the right-hand side of the screen. There's a new clearing that is underway here. Is a good closer-in view. And what I think we'll see is once this is cleared and leveled, they'll put gravel and they'll use this for more staging of equipment and materials. As we approach the battery cathode plant, a few interesting details today. The first is on the south end. You can see all the wall panels have been installed. And as I was maneuvering the drone to show you the wall panels, I saw this excavator and decided to pull back and reposition the drone to show you what is going on. And what this is extending Tesla Road further to the east. And as we look back, you can get a good sense of how this will look. It's got that little bit of a bend and it goes to that 4-way intersection and then all the way across over to the North Bridge. At the crash test facility on the south end, I'll give you a good view here of the slab that's under construction. And as we talked about in the intro, you can see the rebar coming up on the perimeter. So it suggests that we're going to have some sort of wall units. And speaking of wall units, we can see that this large concrete wall panel that we saw in my video yesterday that was delivered is now being positioned and getting ready to be installed to finish off this part of the factory. We also see a lot of the work next to the walls to prepare for more asphalt, and also some geotextile membranes on the left-hand side of the screen have been placed to help stabilize the soil ahead of what I expect to see more asphalt. And it continues the entire length of the building on the left-hand side. The center section is where the new asphalt has been placed. It looks like it's not completed, but just enough so they can put the trailers and generators and also allow for some parking. The cell test lab looks very busy here today. A lot of activity with the trailers as well. And then as I maneuver around the north end, we can see the trailers at the receiving doors. That is bringing equipment for the battery cathode plant, maybe materials as well. And of course, the new apron that was poured just north of the where the trailers are. And the lift station with the asphalt and the concrete we saw being poured yesterday has now been completed, and it's in that cordoned off area. As we continue to fly to the south on this east side, we see more of the areas where it's had asphalt, preparation for the underground conduit, or the stormwater pipes to have concrete poured on it in the bottom right. And then we see more work up at the vents with the workers on that man lift. And that green section is just the one last section that needs to have wall panels installed. As I look at the die shop, we can see some trench work, some of those large white pipes getting ready to be installed on that north end, and just generally how that side looks. The chiller plant is operational, as you can tell with the fan units, but they still have that plastic sheeting on the north end. Kind of curious what they are doing down in the that part of the chiller plant. Of course, the alleyway is all in concrete, and it's used mostly as a parking lot today. So let's reposition over towards the electrical switch yards and take a look at the activity that's going on over there this morning. Crews continue to work quickly to remove the electronic items and the steel superstructure. We see some circuit breakers being moved by that front end loader, I believe. And we can see that the two A-frames are nearly ready for disassembly. The cable tray, which is kind of that brown in the middle, has been removed. So the three control rooms or those trailers are really not connected to anything anymore. And it's really getting close to the point where we'll see that completely be dismantled and removed from the site. The permanent electrical switch yard, obviously much larger, but it also is fully operational right now. And here's a good view and a comparison of the sizes of the temporary and the new permanent electrical switch yard. As we fly up over the power lines and the power poles, we'll come over to the Megapack site. And yesterday I mentioned that the three double-ended disconnects had been swiveled and are connected, and we can see those here at the bottom of the screen. And I've had a few viewers say that just because that is done doesn't mean that the Megapacks are connected in any way or getting any power. And what they point to is this kind of bank of switches. Then I'll try to give you a good close-in view. You'll see these black levers that are facing down. Until those are up, several viewers are telling me that that means that the Megapack is still not connected and there's no power flowing to the Megapack. So continue to watch that, but at least it is good to see that the disconnects for the grid have been turned and connected. It's a good view of the work that is going on here at the Megapacks. Perhaps they're getting final checks before they can flip those switches up and connect the Megapacks. So let's reposition over towards the north end of the factory, and let's take a look at some of the activity that's going on the main building itself. As we fly through the steam coming up through the vents over the 4680 battery cell production area, we can see the current status of this portion of the roof. This is where there's been some membrane separation from the underlying insulation, and there's some rework that is being done right now to correct the problems with this part of the roof and prevent it from leaking and also having further damage. And this is just a quick view of how this section of the roof looks today. And those are bricks that are holding down the weatherproof membrane. Those are also used to hold the unirack mounts for the solar panels once those continue to be installed. This ramp that has been removed hasn't really seen much change over the last couple of weeks. And let's fly further to the north around the northwest corner and get a good sense of how this part of the factory looks today. And as we get closer to the north end, we'll see the continued work to expand the 4680 production cell area and expand to a total of 8 production lines once that work is completed. We do see some of those steel items at the bottom of the screen. It looks like bridge crane rails and also some sort of rack mounting system, and a lot of other materials just being prepared to be moved inside and being delivered right now to the north end. North end of the paint shop has got a lot of the Cybertruck castings. Most of these here are rear castings, but for some reason they're being put into these wooden crates, and I don't know where they're shipping them off to, but it's something we saw earlier on, but we're seeing that again. As we get to the northeast corner of the casting machine structure, we see a lot more castings for the Cybertrucks in this case, they are the front castings. Some of them are in the rack mounts as well. And we can also get a good sense of the work that's going on here with the concrete. You see the workers on the bottom. They're drilling holes in the edge of the concrete. They'll be putting rebar, and then they'll extend the concrete apron all the way over to where the berm is located. We can get a good view with this zoom in of the work that's going on around the base of the berm and preparing this entire section for more concrete. Also a good view of the castings on this side and some of the flues for the internal furnace that has been added to the casting machine structure. So a lot of really good views of a lot of activity here on the northeast corner of casting. The ventilation system with the ducted fans looks mostly completed now. It looks like there's still a few of the rectangular ducts into the roof that need to be connected, but otherwise a lot of progress being made. I thought I'd end the drone flight today by taking a look at the outbound lot, give you a good sense of the number of Model Ys and some of the Cybertrucks that are here. Now keep in mind this is very early on a Wednesday, so the production of the vehicles is just now coming online, so that's why the lot may not be as full as you would expect. I did notice this truck with a Cybertruck loaded up, getting ready to depart the site, so I'll give you a good close-in view of how this looks today. You see other Cybertrucks around this particular area. But these trucks are coming and going quite quickly here at Giga-Texas, and they are departing here, and they're heading 15 miles or so to the north to the Taylor Rail Yard, where the vehicles are being accumulated and then loaded up onto the rail trucks or the rail cars for delivery around the country. So anyway, good to see another Cybertruck on the delivery trucks and being picked up and taken off site. Here's a good view of the road work on the left, the concrete items for the multi-level parking garage, and a good view across the wind tunnel towards the testing and calibration lot and how this looks today. So I will end this video with a large pullback towards the east and kind of reveal the entire site and much of the areas that we flew over today. I hope that you enjoyed the early morning looks into the west side of the factory and also some of the items that we discussed in the intro. As always, thank you very much for your support. I hope that you have a great rest of the week and take care.